Hi, welcome to the H4RL Career Podcast. I'm Jill.
And I'm Dave.
And today we're going to be talking about the highest paying jobs.
So we're going to start off by giving you just the best overall majors. We thought, let's just tell them what the best majors are out there for money, or actually in general. But once I started looking at it, it kind of got a little bit more complicated, as things usually do when you start looking into the details of things.
There's a lot that goes into making something a great job.
Yes, exactly. Basically, the career outlook, how much money you make, as far as like its job satisfaction, and a bunch of other types of fits. And I looked at a lot of different sources, and quite honestly, I didn't quite agree with a lot of the different sources that were out there. So we decided, hey, let's break this down. Let's focus on the top 10 highest paying careers. Then we're going to do one on the ones with the most job satisfaction. Probably then going to do one with the best job placement, and we might do a couple other ones. And then we're going to go through...
Yeah, so keep coming back. We're going to have lots of great information for you.
And then we're going to come back and kind of do a review and kind of like try to bring it all together and see like what we think are the top, careers or majors based off of all these different podcasts that we're going to do in the series.
Right. So we're breaking it down for you. We're starting with the highest paying jobs. And then once we've done all the research and shared it all with you, we'll let you know our list of overall top majors.
All right. So we're going to start off with the highest paying majors. Now, before we get into this, you got to realize that the major, this isn't like your starting off salary. This isn't going to be like the majors that give you the highest initial salary. It's the majors that are going to lead to the highest paying careers. Like everything, you should focus on the career, not necessarily the major itself. So we're going to first talk about the top 18 highest paying careers out there, and then go back and look at the majors that kind of lead to those, and that gives you an idea of how you're going to get there.
Right. So stick with us. We are going to tell you about the best majors, but we're going to figure that out by looking at the highest paying careers.
Exactly. Now, one thing you're going to realize as we go through this, a lot of these highest paying careers require additional education beyond the bachelor's degree. So, you're going to get the bachelor's degree to get your initial foot in the door, but you're going to have to get a decent amount of additional education beyond that in order to actually make these careers happen. Right. So keep that in mind. So
plus get some experience. A lot of these careers are something that you're working your way toward through your life, through your career.
Exactly.
But again, we're probably going to do some other podcasts that talk about best paying jobs straight out of college with a bachelor's degree, best paying jobs you can get without even a bachelor's degree. So again, keep checking back. There's going to be a lot of good stuff.
So on top of all this, let's first talk about how we got this data. Now, if you went out there and start looking for the highest paying careers out there, highest paying majors, you're going to get a lot of different sources, and you're going to get a lot of different answers, honestly. The source that a lot of people use is called the Bureau of Labor Statistics. All right, it's from the government. It's a government department that kind of tracks all this stuff to do with labor stats. Well, they are a great source to look at initially, but they're actually very different. They actually have different numbers in other places such as PayScale or Salary.com or Indeed or Glassdoor. So we looked into all of these. I looked at the numbers that the BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, uses, and I compared those to the other ones, and I felt like the other ones were probably a little bit more realistic. I think they're a little bit more up to date. I'm not quite sure why there's a difference, but there are differences between the two. So all the numbers you're going to see in here are from Salary.com. And again, I think there's probably a little bit more up-to-date numbers compared to the BLS. All right, so just a little bit of background there. All right, so the first one we're going to talk about is number 18, is a marketing manager. What do marketing managers do, Jill?
So marketing is the business of advertising, right? And they come up with ad campaigns to advertise a certain product. Your marketing manager is the person that's overall in charge of that. They're managing the whole team that's working on this ad campaign.
Okay, so this is not going to be an entry-level job, as none of these really are entry-level jobs we're going to be talking about. So if you want an entry-level job that pays lots of money, that's a different podcast, not this one.
But it is something you can probably do with just a bachelor's degree and then some experience.
Exactly, yeah, you can work your way into this position. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're going to see that we give you three numbers. There's the bottom 10% on the pay scale, the median salaries, which is right in the middle, and the top 10%. We're going to just kind of read off on the podcast itself the median salaries, and then you can go on the YouTube if you want to, if you're listening to this on maybe Spotify or any of your other podcast channels, and get the actual data and see the slides for yourself if you so care. All right,
So if you're just listening, there's a little more to see if you watch the video if you want it.
Exactly. So the median salary for a marketing manager is around $110,000. Very nice paycheck coming in. Again, that's the median. Some make more, some make less. Like, for example, the bottom 10% for a marketing manager makes around $82,000, and the top 10% make around $147,000. Again, I'm not going to read those off for every single one that we're talking about here, but just to give you an idea, there are a decent spread. And if you're going to be starting off, by the way, if you're newly becoming a marketing manager in your career, you are probably going to be towards the low end. And if you're going to be, towards the end of your career, you're probably going to be closer to the high end, as well as I'm sure it also matters where you live, because different cities usually pay more. So you have to factor all those things go into the factoring of where you really fall within that salary range.
So what major do I do to become a marketing manager?
Well, marketing. That's an easy one. If you want to do marketing,
who would have guessed?
Exactly. You'll probably start off in the marketing as a marketing associate, and then move your way up to a manager.
And so that was number 18. What's number 17?
Computer and Information Systems Managers. Again, another manager. What do they do, Jill?
So once again, this is a job you're going to move up into. So it's a computer and information systems manager is managing all the people working on the computer and information systems.
Absolutely. And so their median salary is roughly $129,000.
Pretty good.
This isn't year 2022, by the way, in case you're listening to this in the future.
And the thing with this job that's interesting is you might go into this field because you like working with computers. But in order to make it to this manager position, you're managing people. So you've got to have those technical skills and the people skills.
And business, by the way. Managers also usually do a lot of budgeting and also talking
That's
to
true.
higher ups, as well as organizational skills. So you're actually probably moving much more into the business world versus just the straight marketing world when you become a manager.
But this is another one of those jobs where you probably can just get a bachelor's degree and jump right in and start working your way up in your career to become the manager.
Correct. And so basically the related majors would be computer science. So it makes it very straightforward. You're going to be just moving up through the chain, coming in at entry-level computer scientist, computer scientist, I guess, or a computer science engineer, depending on how you want to call it, and moving your way up to a manager level.
There's probably a lot of different terms for what they'd call the job. But
All right. So number 16, trying to get this moving. Architectural and engineering managers.
they're managing teams of people, once again, who are working on architectural or engineering projects. So again, you've got a technical background, but you're moving up into managing the people.
And also business. Realize that anytime you're going to be a manager, you're going to be doing more business type of stuff. You're going to be doing schedules, you're going to be doing budgets, you're going to be working with people on a personal level as far as like trying to help them in their careers, hiring and firing, as well as organization. So realize you're transitioning what your career path is going to look like.
So any of these three jobs we've talked about so far, you could start with a bachelor's degree and move into your job and work up, but it also may help your chances if you get an MBA.
Absolutely.
say?
Yes.
A master's in business administration,
Yes, exactly.
which you could do while you're working.
Exactly. So the related majors, as you would guess, would be architecture or any one of the many engineering fields. All right. So understand that. That's kind of where you're going to start off at. All right. The next one, number 15, is an airline pilot, co-pilot, or flight engineer. What do you do as a pilot, Jill?
You fly planes, Dave.
Right. Now, flight engineers is a little bit different. They're not really flying the planes, but they're actually working with the pilots and co-pilots to navigate and all the instrumentation as well. But the pilots and co-pilots fly the aircraft. The median salary for this is $142,000. So again, very good salary. The way you would become an airline pilot, there's really one of two ways. Either one, you go in the military and you learn and become a pilot that way, and you get your experience, you serve the country, and then when you come out, then you can go and get hired by a commercial airline and fly for them.
That's the cheap way.
That's the cheap way.
Or
the other way, you can go and get a degree in either aviation, aeronautical science, or aerospace engineering.
So you only need a bachelor's degree.
Yep.
But
then you also got to get your pilot's license, essentially.
which requires a lot of flight hours.
And it's very expensive. It's very expensive to do that, by the way. We talked to a pilot in our community. If you go to our community and join the membership and you go and listen to our interviews, we have an airline pilot in there, and you'll find out that it's literally a couple $100,000 to get your pilot's license nowadays.
But they're on this list, so you're going to be able to pay it back. But you do have to take on that debt.
You are going to take on that debt, and you usually can't get any kind of no one's going to pay you to become a pilot unless you go in the military. So that's really your two options. But once you get in there, you can actually make quite a bit of good money. Like I said, the median's $142,000, and if you fly for the top airlines like Delta, we looked that up, you can make as a pilot, which takes a long time to get there, by the way. You can make up $250,000 even. So you can pay very, very well depending on where you work. All right, number 14 is an orthodontist. Jill, what does an orthodontist do?
So orthodontics is a specialty. You're going to become a dentist, and then you're going to go on for some more training and learn how to do braces and things like that.
That's number 14 on this list. Their median salary is around $145,000, so very good salary as well. And if you want to do this, we're going to list off what you do here, but this is actually the same types of majors you would do for, say, dentistry, or actually a lot of the different types of medical professions we're going to talk about later on. You do biochemistry, biomedical engineering, by the way, physiology, biology, chemistry are all great majors that help you to go on to become a dentist first, and then an orthodontist a little bit later on. So the great thing in there is that biomedical engineering is a great bachelor's degree, because in case you don't make it onto a dentist, like you get into school, you realize I really don't want more schooling than just 4 years. That sets you up to have a pretty nice career later on, but it's also within the field of interest that you're doing. Whereas one of these other ones, such as biology and chemistry, you got to make sure the careers you would want to get with that particular bachelor's degree is what you'd want to do in case you don't make it as a dentist.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Dave. This is a good time to just pause real quick and let you know a lot of the careers we're going to talk about do start with majors in those health sciences, biology, chemistry, biochemistry, all those sorts of things. And they're great majors because they lead to so many really well-paying jobs. However, with a bachelor's degree, you can't do those jobs. They all are going to require going on for more schooling. And so you have to be really careful which one of those majors you choose. Understand what you can do with that major if you only have a bachelor's degree, because sometimes it's not much.
Right.
So you need to understand that. But they do open doors to a lot of different paths that pay really well. But having an option like that, like what was it, bioengineering, biomedical engineering?
Biomedical engineering.
Those are really good because you really can do stuff with those bachelor's degrees, even if you don't go on.
Agreed. Number 13 on this list is a judge and a magistrate. All right, Jill, what does a judge and magistrate do?
They preside over a court of law. So they are going to be making decisions about sentencing or about liability in a court case based on the law that they have studied and studied.
Exactly. So the median salary is $171,000, and you would first off becoming actually a bachelor's degree, then becoming a lawyer, and then usually to become a judge, you actually have to get elected or appointed. So it's not actually even a straight shot to get there. It's not like
Not a guarantee.
Right. You can't just keep on working. You're going to automatically become a judge. You actually kind of have to be voted, which is kind of hard to do. You have to run and get voted, or you have to get appointed somehow. So you're usually going to start off as like a district attorney or a prosecutor, just doing normal court cases, and eventually you could possibly then become a judge after you build up a reputation. Now, the majors you'd have to become a lawyer, so your undergraduate degree leads to becoming a lawyer, would be a political science, history, psychology, criminal justice, and economics. One thing I want to say, if you're going to become a lawyer, we know a couple of lawyers, and you're going to want to basically like to read a lot, and you're going to have to basically it's a lot of reading, a lot more reading than you realize, and you have to write well. So it's reading and writing.
And critical thinking.
And critical thinking. I'd absolutely recommend that you go to a public court, and actually you can sit there and just listen to what the court cases are like, so you get a better idea of what being a lawyer really is. It's not like what you see on TV.
It's not?
It is not what you see on TV. So go there and see what it's really like before you go and decide you're going to go through all that schooling to become a lawyer or a judge. All right. The next one, number 12, is a dentist. What does a dentist do, Joe?
They clean teeth, they fill cavities, all the regular kind of teeth maintenance.
Exactly. So then this is again, you get your bachelor's degree and you go on and get your dental. Basically, it's like a doctorate in dental work. So you become a doctor. And basically, you're going to get the same types of undergraduate majors that we talked about before: biochemistry, physics, even biology, physiology, chemistry, molecular biology, or even biomedical engineering. It's another good major to go on before you become a dentist. The median salary is $173,000. All right. The next one is a prosthodontist. What is a prosthodontist?
So this is another one of those where you get a specialty after you become a dentist. And so they're going to be they're going to be kind of hands-on crafting things that go in your mouth. So veneers and things like that, bridges and crowns, and they might even do some jaw surgery. So it's a specialty within the world of dentistry.
Exactly. So you get, again, bachelor's degree, become a dentist, and then you go on further to become a prosthodontist. The median salary is $186,000. All right. Again, the same types of majors we just talked about for a dentist or even an orthodontist. So I'm not going to repeat those, all the same types of majors because you're first becoming a dentist. All right. The next one, number 10. Top
Woo-hoo!
10.
Top 10.
Yeah. So nurse anesthetist. I probably didn't say that correctly. Jill, correct me. And also, what do they do?
A nurse anesthetist.
There you go.
They're going to be assisting a doctor or a dentist with the anesthesia during a procedure.
All right. So kind of what an anesthesiologist does, but not as much schooling. And, you're going to be more focused on just probably the surgery side of things. We'll talk about an anesthesiologist later. All right. So the median salary is $197,000. That is very good money. And the spread is not very far. So all of them are making really good money. You first have to become a nurse, and then you go on and get a specialty and become an anesthetist. All right. So that would mean that your major you're going to do is nursing, which is great because that is a great major to have because you're going to be able to get a job right out of school and you're going to get paid pretty good money even if you don't go on to get that additional education. You won't be making the same as a nurse anesthetist, but you will be making good money and have good job opportunities for you.
Right. So really not much risk associated with this one because you've got a great degree that leads to another great job.
Exactly. All right. Number 9 is a pediatrician. All right. So a pediatrician, median salary is $210,000. What does a pediatrician do, Jill?
They're a doctor. Just kind of a regular doctor you go see in their office, but they are for kids.
Makes sense. All right. So how would you become a pediatrician?
It's the same as the path for most doctors. So you need a bachelor's degree in one of those health sciences. Same list, pretty much. Then you go to medical school for 4 years. And then, like most of the other medical professions, you have to do a 3-year residency. And that's where you're picking your specialty. You're doing that 3-year residency in pediatrics. So you'll be working with children during that time.
So if you like sciences and you like the biologies and you're decently good at math and you like working with kids, this is a potentially great career path for you. All right. Number 8 is a family medicine physician. What does a family medicine physician do?
A lot like the pediatrician, but in this case, you're seeing people of all ages. So this can be one if you like a lot of variety because you're going to be seeing infants to elderly patients.
All right.
And that's another, you'd pick that specialty in your 3-year residency.
Okay. The median salary is $211,000. And again, much like the other type of medical fields we talked about, you want to be going into probably a biology, biochemistry, physical sciences, or even math as an undergraduate. That will help prepare you to get into do the pre-med stuff to get into medical school. Side note, you can actually major in anything else you want to as an undergrad to go into medical school, but you will still have to take this prerequisites class, your chemistries, your maths, and some of your physiology classes in order to be accepted into medical school. So if you want to do something else in undergrad, you can. Just realize you're going to be taking longer and probably taking more classes and probably a little bit more debt potentially to go into med school. By the way, all these professional degrees, all these medical degrees, such as physicians and dentists, you usually can't get anybody to pay you for those. Like you can't get scholarships for those. Usually you're going to be just taking on loans. So they're called professional degrees, and you're just going to be coming out of school with a lot of debt. But as you can see, they all make really good money, so you can pay that debt back off.
As long as you do go ahead and do that job.
As long as you do actually get through and actually pass everything and actually become that career. Right. All right. Number 7 is a general internal medicine physician. What do they do?
Once again, this is a specialty that you can choose during your 3-year residency. And so it's very much like the family medicine physician, but you're getting a little more training in the internal organ systems. You're not really going to be seeing kids so much in your practice. They usually only would start at adolescents and mainly see adults.
Okay. All right, again, their median salary is a little bit higher, it's $228,000. So you're going to be making some pretty good money. And on the high end, by the way, at the top 10%, you're almost at $300,000, $287,000. So you definitely have a chance to make some good money in this area and be a very specialized focus if this is what you enjoy doing. Again, related majors, all the same as a doctor because you're essentially becoming a doctor first and then kind of getting a little bit specialized a little bit later on. All right, psychiatrist is number 6. What does psychiatrists do?
So a psychiatrist is in the mental health field, but they are actually a doctor. So this is a lot of schooling to become a psychiatrist. They're going to get their bachelor's degree, then they're going to go to medical school for 4 years, and then they're going to go become a psychiatrist. That takes another 4 years. So lots of schooling to do this. The difference between them and a counselor or psychologist, they may not be doing as much of the therapy, like the individual relational therapy, but they can actually provide medicine. They can prescribe medicine like a doctor because they are a doctor.
Okay. So you look at roughly, if I add that up quickly, about 12 years of schooling between, if you stay on course, by the way, and don't take extra time, right? So it's at least 12 years once you get into college. So I think picking your bachelor's degree is pretty important for this one because in case you don't want to keep on going for 8 more years after you get your bachelor's degree, you want to be happy with what you have and what kind of jobs you can get. The majors that people typically do if they're going to become a psychiatrist are psychology, which makes a lot of sense, biology, chemistry, and biochemistry. So, you start to understand the chemistry side of the brain. So later on, you can understand the kind of drugs to prescribe to them.
Right. And psychology is kind of like those other health science majors where you need to understand what you could do with a bachelor's degree.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Just in case.
The median salary for a psychiatrist is $237,000. So again, very good money.
Are we in the top 5?
We are now at number 5.
Top 5.
All right.
Here we go.
All right. Oral and maxillofacial surgeon. All right. That is number 5. So what do they do?
Another specialty within the world of dentistry. But they're going to do things that your regular dentist is not going to take on. So when you go to an oral surgeon, you are not going to be awake for what they're doing, and they're going to be doing those more in-depth surgeries in your mouth.
So this is kind of like the highest level in the dental world because, this is the more detailed, probably the most advanced education you have to do in order to become this. So it's basically additional schooling beyond becoming a dentist. All right, so the median salary is around $296,000, so almost $300,000 is the median, so right in the middle. The high end, by the way, is $350,000, so you're in the $300,000 range now. All right, again, same type of majors as before. You get the biochemistry, biology, molecular biology, chemistry, or even biomedical engineering. Again, I think that's probably a pretty good major to go into if you're thinking about any of these dental type of degrees. All right, number 4 is an obstetrician and gynecologist. What do they do, Jill?
So they are doctors specifically for women. They're going to be more familiar with specific systems that are in a woman's body, and they're the ones you go see if you're going to have a baby.
All right, so the median salary here is $297,000. Again, really close to $300,000. But the top end is actually a little bit more than you had for the surgeons. The top end is around $413,000. So they get bumped up a little bit higher in this list. Essentially, the majors you want to do for this, much like a doctor, all right? You're going to do like health sciences, biology, chemistry, biochemistry. You get that picture at this point. So
more than the dental surgeons, but not more than some of the other surgeons.
Exactly. More than the surgeons we just talked about. Good correction, because number 3 is an anesthesiologist. What does an anesthesiologist do, Jill?
So this is kind of your doctor level where you're looking at what that nurse anesthetist did. They're going to be in charge of the anesthesia for surgical procedures.
As well as, by the way, we know some anesthesiologists. They also do pain management for people in the hospital that may just get out of surgery, or maybe they're there for other reasons. They go around and know how to give like different types of drugs to people to help them manage their pain while they're in the hospital. So that's another really cool thing they get to do because they get to help relieve the painful side of things. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot of education. What does it take to become an anesthesiologist?
This one is a little bit more than the other medical professions we talked about because you're still doing the bachelor's degree, the medical school, and the residency, but this one is a 4-year residency.
Okay, so a little bit more on that side. And they actually usually have decently high insurance, by the way, because your entire job is kind of taking people down close to death, but not quite, keep them alive, but so they don't feel anything, and then bring them back after all that. So they do actually have a decent amount of insurance they have to pay to be a doctor. By the way, the median salary is $400,000. So we're now in the $400,000 range for your median salary, and the upper end is actually a cool $500,000 a year, $507,000. So quite a bit of money. Common majors for people becoming anesthesiologists, again, biology, neuroscience, which makes a little bit different than the other ones, which makes a lot of sense, chemistry, biochemistry, even nutrition, which is interesting. We found that out there. A lot of people, not a lot, but some people who become anesthesiologists also do nutrition science as a bachelor's degree. All right. Number 2. All right. We are on surgeons. Surgeons in general. Okay. Just a quick heads up. Surgeon, actually, what does a surgeon do, Jill? Let's start there. Surgery, right? They cut people open and they fix things, or they take things out, or they replace things, all right?
But there are a lot of different kinds.
Absolutely. You can have brain surgeons, heart surgeons, even orthopedic, all kinds of surgeries. They kind of lump them all into one big category here. All right, so the median salary is real close to what we just talked about before, which is $409,000, with the top 10% making $555,000 now, all right? And probably even more than that. So you're getting really good salaries.
That's
but
a lot of money.
How would you become a surgeon?
Well, it is a lot of schooling, because you are going to be going into that residency, and this one is going to be at least 3 years, maybe even up to like 7 years. It takes a while.
Right. So
depending on which one of those specialties you
realize you're going to have several $100,000s of debt. All right. If you're going to do these type of degrees, because when you're going through medical school to become a doctor in the first place, you really can't afford to pay for your anything. You're busy all the time. So basically, you're going to be not just paying for your schooling, but you're also paying for your food, and usually like a apartment or something like that. All your expenses you're basically going to be putting on loans, because you really don't have time to work another job. And then when you go through residency, by the way, on the back end, they work you to death, and you usually don't get paid that much money. So people actually sometimes even take on loans to help them through residency as well.
But you're going to make a lot later.
On the back end, you're going to make a lot later, but you probably aren't going to be becoming a surgeon until you're at least in the range of 30 years old, given how much schooling you have. So realize how much later a start you're going to be having. So that's why picking a bachelor's degree major is very important. Just in case you get to that bachelor's degree and like, I really don't want 8 more years of schooling at this point. So you want to be happy with what you have. So they have human physiology, biology, health sciences, chemistry, biomedical sciences, and bioengineering are all common majors for people going into surgeons.
Right. And I think just really understanding that whole process is so important even when you're at the beginning, to understand what all is going to be required of you, because you have to gain admission into these programs.
Absolutely.
And that's competitive. So it may not even be that you change your mind, but at some point you find you can't get into the program you thought you were going to do. And then you have to pass exams,
Absolutely.
which can be another hurdle. So you really have to understand the process of some of these professions when you choose them at the beginning.
All right. Number 1, our highest paid
top job
career path here is called a chief executive, or basically a CEO. What does a CEO do, Jill?
Well, we're actually out of the medical field here, Dave.
Finally, out of the medical field.
They run companies.
They do. These are their top person in a company. Now, I want to point out something here. If you look at the BLS, they say the average or the median salary for a CEO is the like 150-ish range, $50,000 range, all right? I think they're taking a lot larger spread of companies, like especially the really, really small companies that don't really make hardly anything, because their CEOs won't get paid very much. But on the top end side, you got companies out there. If you run a big company, you're making millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars to run big companies. All right. So the median salary that we found on salary.com was $786,000. So that's a huge bump from even what the surgeons are making. All right. So you're basically in charge of running the entire company. You're in charge of the vision of the company, like where you think the company should go to be profitable and to succeed compared to your competitors, right? Then you are responsible for hiring the right people underneath you, like the chief operating officer, the chief financial officer, the chief technology officer, and making sure that they know the game plan and basically the strategy that you have laid out. That's why they get paid so much, is because it's actually really, really hard to have that big picture and understand where that company should be going to become profitable, and how to not be profitable, like get rid of the things that are causing your company to go down. It's not easy. People think it is, but it actually isn't to have that kind of vision. And that's why they get paid so much money.
Something I've heard you say, which I think is a really important point, is there actually aren't many people who can do this job well.
No, that's why, a lot of times they get fired pretty quickly if they're not steering the ship in the right direction and making the company money. All right. Now, in a lot of cases, the person who actually starts the company is the CEO for a while. But when it grows so big, they actually start to realize this is a lot of times they might be really good like computer scientists, or like they started off like a tech company, but they realize this is really more of a business type of job, and I'm not really good at that. They might step aside and then hire someone to be that CEO for them who's much better at running the actual business side of their company. All right. Mm-hmm. So by the way, I want to use as a wrap up here. The people who make the most money in the world, by the way, are not people who work for other companies. All right. That's what we talked about here. All these are jobs you can go out and get education, and then you'll end up working for a hospital or another company somehow. But the people who make the most money in the world are the people who own their own companies, who start their own companies, and they become very successful.
So that's the real number one.
Think of Jeff Bezos, right? He's, I think worth somewhere like $100 billion. You've got, Elon Musk, who owns, Tesla, who started Tesla. He's worth the richest man in the world. He's like 200 some billion dollars at this point. Crazy amount of money. So if you really want to make money in this world, it's you find a problem, you solve it by making some kind of product or some kind of solution, and then people pay you for that and your company grows. All right. That's the people who actually make the most in this world. And the thing about that is you don't necessarily have to have a specific major to do that. All right. Now, to circle back to the CEO, how to become a CEO? That's really what you want, right? You have to go, a lot of them are in finance. It makes sense. Finance, business is a good one. Computer sciences, healthcare, administration, believe it or not, management, engineering are all majors that actually a lot of CEOs have. Now, that's a great thing, is like you want to pick a major that's going to set you up for success. But a lot of these people go on to get what they call an MBA, a Master's of Business Administration. Actually, it would be hard pressed to be a CEO nowadays without that MBA, because it really is so much of the business side of things, right? Really understanding how business works. So, not a whole lot more education, but realize if you want to be a CEO, you either need to start your own company and do that, or you're going to have to work your way up. It usually takes a long time to become a CEO, and it actually takes lots of hours. I know people who become CEOs and they work a ton of hours all the way up to become that, get to that position. So it's a lot of time. It's not one of those things where you're going to have a lot of work-life balance, because your job is going to be your career. I mean, your job is going to be your life.
And both of these types of CEOs, whether it's you're starting a company or you're becoming the CEO of an existing company, both of those are so far from a guarantee. Absolutely. It really is. You've got to have your plan B.
Absolutely.
Because it can be incredible if you make it, but it's hard to be successful.
Very, very few people ever get to the point where you're actually running a company. So, all right. So those are the top careers, 18 top careers. I mean, you heard us.
For money.
For money. For money. Exactly. All based off working for other people. Generally, we say it's not starting your own business. So out of that, we kind of went back and looked at, okay, what are all the majors that kind of lead to that? Well, the top majors really are, whether it's the finance, business, and economics. All right. So those are the top ones, because that typically leads to becoming a CEO, which makes the most amount of money. That's why we said it, because they went out for money, because they make the most money by a significant amount of money margin. There's other careers that we didn't list here, because these are the careers that were listed, by the way, on the BLS. That's why we use these particular careers. There's other careers out there, such as a hedge fund manager or a stockbroker. Those guys, their salaries aren't super high, but they make a lot of money on what they call commission, right? So the better they do, the more they get paid in bonuses. Those guys all usually make multi-millions of dollars, by the way. So, and again, their backgrounds typically are economics, finance, and business. So that gives you an idea. But not everybody that goes into those majors, by the way, makes that kind of money. Trust me. Actually, most people who go into those majors do not make anywhere close to that kind of money. Just so we're clear on that. All right, the next ones are computer sciences, because computer sciences lead to several of these different careers. It's a good baseline career that you can actually go out there and actually make good money coming right out of school. Then you got biology, physiology, and biochemistry, because a huge number of these particular careers are all in the healthcare field. So again, that's why they're pretty high paying majors, as long as you're willing to go on to get that extra degree. couple degrees actually in some cases.
Right, that's really something to keep in mind with those majors.
Because if you don't, coming out of school with just these bachelor's degrees, you will not be making near that kind of money. So that's something you need to understand. Actually, we probably will do a podcast a little bit later on the top careers with just a bachelor's degree. So that way you understand if you don't want to do all the schooling, what kind of degree can I get for a bachelor's degree and still make pretty good money? All right. Then you got engineering. Great. You can do a lot of things with engineering, especially if you go and get an MBA. It's a very powerful combination. So you become a CEO, but you can also go into some of these other like medical fields, as you saw. It's a very easy path.
And there are so many choices in engineering.
Absolutely, yeah. There's mechanical, electrical, civil,
Chemical, biomedical.
Oh, there's all kinds of petroleum. I mean, there's so many different types of engineering out there. Software engineering, computer science engineering. All right. Then there's nursing. We're throwing nursing in there because you can become a nurse anesthetist, which makes really good money. But it's actually a very good degree to have. Even if you don't go on to get the extra education, you can definitely make good money coming out of school, as well as a good job placement. So we're going to throw nursing into this good major as well for money.
So there you have it, the top majors for making money.
Sounds awesome. All right, so be sure to catch us next time when we'll talk about the top majors for job satisfaction, and then we'll keep on going with the series.
So much good information coming. And remember, just because you think a job sounds great doesn't mean it's going to be a good fit for you. And so if you hear some of these and you think, wow, well, that sounds interesting, but how do I know if it's going to work out for me? That's what we do at h4rl.com, H4, the number 4. Mm-hmm. We have a whole program, a whole set of resources ready to help you make that decision. We have some things to help you figure out your own personality, your own goals, your strengths, your interests, all this different stuff. Learn more about the jobs, really figure out how do I pick one that's going to be good for me.
And if you found this at all helpful and interesting, please give us a thumbs up. Please subscribe below.
5
or if you're listening on a podcast, give us 5 stars. Or just anything you can just to kind of help promote us. It really does help us. It's free and easy for you to do. It really helps us get out there so other people can hear about us. We are a new company, so we are really trying to get out there and be noticed. All right.
Thank you. And so much more good stuff coming. So keep checking back.
Yeah, please checking back. All right. Until then, I'm Dave.
And Jill.
See you later.